everyone to Creaky Kitchen episode 8. Can you believe it? 8 months in. This is actually our first event of the summer. It is nice and hot here in New York City where I am. Let us know where you're calling in from in the chat box, which you'll see in the bottom of your screen. It's nice to see you all. Thank you for joining. So we thought summer for many people is about cooking and getting together with family or friends to eat outside, maybe do a barbecue, especially now that people are, vaccinated and maybe getting a little bit more comfortable with activities, and especially with long weekends coming up. 4th of July is coming up, woo! And hopefully a vacation here or there. So we thought, in the spirit of summer, we decided to make this month around food swaps. Eating can be really stressful when you have chronic illness, especially when you need to attend an event and don't really know what's there. So if you wanted to cook a dish and you wanted to make a swap, tonight we'll learn an excellent recipe from Chantelle, who is our resident Creaky Kitchen chef. Chantelle will teach us a chicken meatballs in a curry sauce with zoodles, otherwise known as zucchini noodles. For those who love acronyms and fun words, zoodles, really fun to say. And she'll describe how she swapped ingredients for this recipe. And later we'll hear from Carol Finkelstein, who is representing as Amy's mother, Amy from our tech team, GHLF family. Hey, Amy, how are you? Big wave.
I'm great. Very excited to make this a family production today.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we'll hear from Carol later, who will talk about her tips for food swaps. And we'll learn a lot from her about common food swaps and ways you can substitute different ingredients to better fit into your diet, or even just the ingredients you have in your fridge and pantry. So for everyone listening in or on the Zoom, if you have successful swaps or even swap fails, let us know in the chat box. Eating when you have chronic illness is often just full of trial and error, and sometimes you try and it doesn't sit well, it doesn't work, and other times an accidental trial can end up becoming your go-to. So, let us know what works, what hasn't, because one of the most magical things about this community is learning together and growing together. So if you have swap fails, we love to hear. And if you have swap successes, even better, we can help each other just learn and enjoy good food together. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. Chantelle, how are you? The floor is all yours.
Well, as you can see, you got a different view of me. I'm a lot shorter today, huh? And some new accessories back here. I unfortunately broke my ankle, and I found out today that it was broken in 2 places. So I will either do conventional rehab and lose my summer, or go and get surgery and lose my summer. Either way, we're here to cook tonight, and that's what's important. I love this idea of swaps because I do swaps sometimes for nutritional purposes, but other times, and I was in the email thread with Zoe and Corey, I said, is this swaps as in like for nutritional purposes, or swaps because I forgot something at the store because I had brain fog? And they said either one. So this is a recipe that is a swap for spaghetti and meatballs. It's summertime. It's a bit heavy to do a traditional spaghetti, tomato sauce, and all that. And I figured this would be something that's a little bit lighter and fun, a little exotic. We're going to use curry. I did trial this with my husband, and I used what curry? Oh, I used Penang curry paste, and it was so hot. I couldn't do it. So I have 3 curry choices tonight. I have a red curry, a yellow curry, and a green curry. If you guys want to vote down there and tell me which one I should use, feel free. He'll eat it no matter what. And I will post on Twitter how he liked it. So what I've done, yeah, you guys can vote right at the bottom. Team yellow. The yellow is like a massaman curry, and it's really mild and tons of flavor. It's personally one of my favorite. Anyway, but I'm not trying to sway you. Anyway, so I went ahead, because I am kind of in this like semi-seated life, and these crutches are not my friend. I stuck with them. I've had, thank goodness for Cheryl introducing me to these gloves. I've had these on all day. So Cheryl's out there, say thank you to her for me. And so I went ahead and I made my meatballs earlier. They are really, really simple. They are just ground chicken. Swap number 1, the person delivering my groceries swapped out my ground chicken for ground turkey. So swap number one, you didn't even know. So instead of it being ground chicken, they are ground turkey, but they're equally good both ways. I've tried them both ways and they're fine. And they've got some green onion in there. They've got a whole jalapeno, and I did leave some of the seeds in. Again, we're doing the spice test on my husband tonight. He just coughed. There's also some tamari, which is this. It's similar to soy sauce, but it's gluten-free. I've always used it. It was my dad's favorite when he cooked Asian food, and I've always just stuck with tamari. I do own soy sauce. I just never use it unless it specifically asks for it in a recipe. But tamari is my go-to for that. And then there's also some minced garlic in there. I went ahead because I was trying to be ambitious, and I used my rasp, and I used my ginger and my garlic, and I did that for the first, for this application, and mixed it all in there, made them into nice little meatball soldiers, and stuffed them in the oven for 20 minutes at 400. The oven has been off for about an hour now, so the house is no longer hot, so that's a great plus too. So they're already ready to go. So what we're going to focus on really is just putting this curry together, and then while it simmers, you guys are going to hear from some great folks. And then once it's about to be done, that takes about 15-20 minutes, I'd say. I'll drop the zoodles in, and yes, I love saying zoodles. It might be my favorite new word. And I bought those zoodles at the store. My husband actually got them from me, but we got them at the store. If you want to buy a spiralizer, I wouldn't because it's a unitasker, but if you want to, you can spiralize just about any vegetable at this point. I mean, I've seen zucchini, summer squash, carrots. I've seen all kinds of things that have been spiralized. So if you get a good one, you might be able to do potatoes. I don't know. But if anybody has a spiralizer and they have experience with it and they want to share, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I am always looking for ideas, and I've got a little space in this kitchen, so I might be able to add one unitasker. So without further ado, I've got a pan over here heating up to like medium, high heat. And if you guys read the recipe, you'll see that it calls for coconut oil and coconut milk. So I get full fat coconut milk, and I don't shake the can. A lot of us want to shake the can. Don't shake the can. Why? Because this coconut milk, this whole top layer of it is coconut oil. So 2 ingredients in one, no need to buy another one. So this is coconut milk. I can stand up. I'm not supposed to stand up for long, so don't tell anybody at a certain hospital here in Boston that's general. My husband's looking away. So, hi, back to my normal height. So this is my favorite opener. It's an OXO Good Grips. It's the only one that I've ever found that really works for me, except for like on demand, like at times like this when I need it to work, of course. So we're just gonna open our can. And I find that even with right now, my hands are pretty bad after a full day cruising around the hospital with appointments being screwed up, that this still works pretty well. I just kind of can't get that great of a grip on it today, but it'll do the job. Give me 1 second. All right, there we go. So when you open it up, you'll notice this kind of like thick, be careful, viscous layer on top. That's your coconut oil right there. So instead of adding another ingredient, we're just gonna go ahead, take this, throw it in the pan, and then we're gonna start in with our vegetables. I went ahead and I chopped everything ahead. Like I said, not the best day, so we did things kind of ahead of time. So it's gonna be onions, it's gonna be red peppers, and then over here I have garlic that I grated. And then if you looked at the recipe, I mentioned that there's also ginger and garlic that you can buy already crushed at the supermarket, and it's in freezer packs. I'll pull it out when you guys are chatting, so you can just kind of see what the packet looks like. But it's pretty cool and a great time saver, especially if you're not into like grating or chopping and mincing and things of that nature. So let me head over here. Ooh. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. You didn't see me walking. You saw nothing. And so my pan is pretty warm, and I'm just gonna skim off the coconut milk from the top. Ooh, the pan's really hot. That's okay. Good thing we had our vegetables ready to go. That will cool the pan right on down. And the smell of the coconut oil is just so intoxicating. And now there's a little bit more left on here. So just so that nothing scorches, I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit more. Get back in there. And so we're gonna saute these around for a little bit. See, you didn't see that. I did not look. And then we're gonna add the garlic and ginger, and then we voted on yellow, was it? Yeah, okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these kind of just moving a little bit. The pan is wicked hot, so I don't want to add my garlic and ginger in just at the second. I'll give it a second or two. No worries. This happens sometimes with coconut oil. Cheat code. Alrighty. I'm gonna go ahead and add in my garlic and ginger. I'm gonna move everything to the outside of the pan so that it's not gonna burn, which it shouldn't anyway. And then here is our paste. So this is the yellow macaron curry. It doesn't actually look bright yellow, but it comes out a little bit yellow once it's done. Oh, there's also construction going on next door. So if you hear like banging or things of that nature, just ignore it. You didn't hear anything. All right, cool. So we're gonna go ahead and get our curry in. And I'm using rough measurements. I use about half of the can, a little bit more, sometimes all of it. We go ahead and get that in there, and you're just gonna turn it around in the pan until it gets fragrant, which is really fast, and it's gonna smell amazing. Oh yeah, that's good. So that's just gonna cook for a couple of seconds, and I'm gonna get a couple other ingredients over here. We're gonna be using the rest of this coconut milk right here, and then I'm gonna plug in just a little bit of chicken stock to help loosen it up. But all these amazing flavors are just melding, and it smells phenomenal. Alrighty. I can already tell it's not gonna be too spicy too, which is good for me. So stock in a box, we've talked about this before, it's super simple. I'm gonna put in about a cup. I know that this has about 2 cups left in it, so nah. And then I'm gonna put in our coconut milk. Oh, just a fluffy white cloud, it's so delicious. All right, so this is gonna cook down a little bit and tighten up. I'm gonna put in our meatballs as soon as this kind of just comes together on its own. Once the rest of the coconut oil that was in there has melted, I'm gonna slide in the meatballs and then let it just kind of marry for about 15 minutes. And then I'll throw in the zoodles, let them cook for about 5, then we're ready to eat.
Awesome. Thank you, Chantelle. And what a great tip aside from swaps, but just to know when you need to prepare in advance and take things easy and just figure out how to work in the kitchen, because like you've shown us tonight, you can prepare a home cooked meal even when you're not feeling your best. And that's what Creaky Kitchen is all about. So thank you. Well, next up, as I mentioned before, we have Carol Finkelstein, who will talk to us about swapping out common ingredients. And Carol, are you ready for us? The floor is all yours.
Oh, yes, I'm ready. Thank you. Hi, everybody. It's great to be here on Creaky Kitchen. It's my first time as a guest.
Hi, Mom.
I love your format.
I've always wanted
really
to say
fun.
that.
Hi. I've been asked to talk about some substitute ingredients that I use. as Amy knows, I've been kind of a creative cook over the years. I've had fibromyalgia and AS for about 30 years, and more recently a little IBS. So sometimes I have some things that I can't quite eat. The main thing that I have learned is listen to your body. In the kitchen, Amy got me a great jar opener and has gotten me new gadgets to help me make things a little bit easier. And one thing that I highly recommend is getting a chef mat for under your sink and or your stove, so that you can be more comfortable when you're actually cooking. One of the things that I have difficulty with is onions and garlic and tomatoes. So I've come up with some swaps that work for me. If we have pasta, which I love, instead of tomatoes, I'll use olive oil and herbs. And I actually have a little herb garden now, you can see. And I took one of the tips from one of your shows and I put them in containers. And I have some green onions over there. Green onions are a great swap for regular onion because the tops are flavorful, but they don't give you the same problems that the white part of the onion does. I have some parsley and some sage and thyme and Greek oregano. And it's been fun doing that little garden and using the herbs. We'll be having some tonight. So one of the things that I also like to do when I have pasta is I'll saute vegetables like zucchini, carrots, all different kinds of vegetables until they're really soft, and then use that on top of my pasta instead of a tomato sauce. Even if I make like a vegetable soup, I'll freeze a little bit, and then when I make pasta for the family, I'll take vegetable soup and throw it in a pot and let it cook down a little bit more and use that on my pasta. Another thing that I found is I'll use a canned soup sometimes. Butternut squash soup is wonderful as a substitute for tomato sauce. I've used butternut squash soup in lasagna or in baked ziti, and it's very flavorful. You have to watch the ingredients because sometimes they have onion in them, and if you can't tolerate even cooked onion, you'll have to look for a brand that doesn't have that. And sometimes they put like cinnamon or nutmeg in it, but I find that if you add like oregano, dried oregano or parsley, and the savory herbs counteract the sweetness, and it really actually makes it taste quite good. So sometimes I can use powdered garlic or minced onion. They found that that is good also, instead of the regular onion and garlic. A lot of people in our family, unfortunately, have food allergies also. My niece is allergic to many fruits, but if you cook fruits, it changes the protein, and a lot of people can tolerate cooked fruit. So that's another, I like to eat raw pineapple. And nowadays you can Google just about any substitute. It's wonderful. But many years ago, my mother-in-law had a lot of food sensitivities, and she loved apple betty, which is like cooked apples with flour. You make like a crumble on top. So we brainstormed and we came up with apple Carol, since my name is Carol and her name was Carol. And we would substitute oatmeal for the flour, and I would cook the apples in fruit juice because she didn't like to eat a lot of sugar. So now what I'm doing is I'm baking. During the pandemic, I started baking muffins and breads. And now what I'm doing is I'm baking without yeast. And there are some really great recipes using baking powder or baking soda. And I'm really enjoying baking with baking powder and baking soda. You can make a soda bread with just 4 ingredients: flour, baking soda, salt, and yogurt. Greek yogurt is great if you're baking and you want to avoid fat, or you can substitute applesauce for like butter and things like that. And I've also discovered white whole wheat flour. It's really, really good. And it gives a delicate crumb, not like the regular whole wheat flour does. So those are some of my things. When I make muffins, I actually make muffins that have no sugar in them at all. They use shredded apple and bananas. So you can substitute those things for sugars. And they get like a different texture, but they're really good if you toast them. So those are some of the things that I've used as substitutes. And my family actually likes my cooking, so I can say they're pretty successful.
Well, that's awesome, Carol. Thank you. I have a question. You mentioned that now you can Google and go look stuff up. So when you actually go about doing these food swaps, do you go to Google? Is there places that you can recommend for people to go, or is it really just trial and error and you play around and sort of figure out what works?
Well, actually, when I Google something, I'll put in like, if I have like bananas and I want to use them, I'll put in banana recipe, no sugar, or banana recipe, no sugar, no fat. And it's amazing because there's a lot of vegan recipes out there that don't use dairy. So they use the applesauce instead of the fats like butter and things like that. So yeah, and then what I do is I'll like look through it and see if I'll be able to tolerate what the ingredients are. And then I'll just try them. I make some skinny chocolate chip banana muffins that Amy really likes. So, and they're made with yogurt.
It's a really fun game for your guests to serve them baked goods with swapped ingredients and like have them try to figure out what's in it. A lot of times I don't know that it has a swapped ingredient. And then she'll say, oh, that bread was made with Greek yogurt. And I'm like, really? It's awesome. So yes, as someone who doesn't have a particularly modified diet, I can confirm it's just as good.
That's awesome. And Carol, I realize we probably should have asked you this up front, but can you talk to us a little bit about how you got into cooking and food swaps? I think you touched on it a little in the beginning, but can you elaborate?
Well, one of the things is my mother-in-law cooking maybe ago or so, she knew a lot of food sensitivities. So we would talk about, she'd ask me, she said, what do you think I could eat instead of this? What do you think we could do instead of that? Because there was no internet back then. So we would just talk about things and we would look through recipes and we would try things. She would try something, I would try something. And then like apple carol I made for her birthday because she just loved apples. And I said, I'll make it with oatmeal. And the family loved it. So that became like our tradition. Every time there was a birthday, I made apple carol.
I love it. We'll have to get apple carol recipe and put it up on CreakyKitchen. That's creakyjoints.org/CreakyKitchen where we post the recipes. So we'll definitely connect with you on that. Thank you, Carol, so much for sharing. This has been really helpful, and I'm definitely going to try that applesauce and yogurt substitute. Sounds fascinating. And if anyone else in the audience, like I said, has any interesting swaps, definitely share it in the chat box. So thank you, Carol.
Thank you.
And now we have our GHLF commercial break. So as some of you may know, this month is Migraine and Headache Awareness Month. And we have Joe Coe, who's the Director of Digital Education and Strategy at GHLF, here to talk about the new podcast, Talking Head Pain. Joe?
I don't need to do a commercial, Zoe, because you did it. That was amazing. So really happy to be here tonight. Also use yogurt. My sister-in-law uses yogurt in crust for pizza and makes a really, really low calorie pizza with Greek yogurt, which is amazing. So I'm going to do a swap. We normally talk about arthritis. Today, we're going to talk for a minute about migraine. I know Chantelle, yes, clap Chantelle. I know you feel this. So migraine is a very prevalent disease. If you don't have it, you probably know someone that does. It's a complex neurological condition that impacts your whole body, from light sensitivity to nausea to just feeling fatigued. A lot of very similar feelings that people with autoimmune diseases have around fatigue and just the inability to do things that you want to do. People with chronic migraine experience that. We call it attacks. Autoimmune people call them flares. So in one of the programs that we launched for Migraine and Headache Awareness Month is called Talking Head Pain. So if you listen to podcasts, you can go on Apple, Spotify, or Google and just look into, just type in Talking Head Pain, you'll find it. You'll hear stories from people like that are millennials talking about their experience trying to create a career, to a retired retired FDNY firefighter who was a 9/11 first responder who developed cluster headache, which people often call suicide headache because of the intense pain that it causes folks after working on the piles in 9/11. You'll hear from HR executives, people of color, LGBT people. It's also Pride Month, so that's an important thing to acknowledge. So really encourage you to take out your phone, type in talkingheadpain.org, check it out, listen to an episode, and then tag us on social media and let us know what you think.
Excellent. Thank you, Joe. I see we just got a question. Maybe Chantelle or Carol has the expertise to answer this. It says, can you use dairy-free yogurt such as almond milk for the recipes you were mentioning?
Okay, if that one is directed toward me, I've never tried it, but if you look on the internet, like a lot of times the recipes that I get, the person who posts it will have like a whole explanation of why they do the substitutions. And sometimes they will say whether you can substitute like a soy yogurt or an almond yogurt or something like that for the dairy. So there's a whole community out there of vegans who are wonderful with sharing their information. And I personally haven't done that, but I read some of the recipes you can.
Excellent, thank you. And Joy said thank you, so I think that answered the question. Thank you very much, Carol. And Chantelle, I see you are up and moving around. Are the meatballs in the curry?
Oh my goodness, the meatballs are in. I added a little bit more curry paste because, you know, this is a challenge. I want to see if I can get them, but I don't think I will this time. The massaman curry is pretty mild. So what I'm about to do is drop the zoodles. And these, I kind of treat just like fresh pasta. Like normally I would just like have a giant rolling, boiling pot of water and I drop them in and it'd be a whole thing. But that's not necessary here. So let's move you guys over a tad so you can see me. Hi. So this has been bubbling away. My kitchen smells phenomenal, amazing. Always have a tasting spoon. So I have been tasting, and it is, I added a little bit of tamari to it because it did need a little bit of that salty umami situation going on. So I'm just gonna drop these directly in. And these are only gonna take a couple of minutes. Really, they're already like, you know, it's zucchini. It doesn't really need much. So you can drop them in and in a couple minutes, they are all set. It's gonna cool your pan down. So to counter that, put your heat up. A lot of people will put something cold into a pan. And I took these out about, I wanna say like an hour ago, and they're still pretty darn cold. So you wanna counter that by turning up your heat. And that's something that I think a lot of people, when they, especially if they're just learning how to cook or just starting to cook for themselves, they go, well, I put it in and then it just, everything just stopped. It didn't boil anymore, it didn't sizzle, it didn't do, so counter it by turning your heat up just a wee bit. And so I'm just gonna mixy these in here. And I've got my toppings that I was doing over there. You'll see them in a second when I bring them over. But I'm gonna top this with some lime juice, some cut scallions, and some cilantro. Cilantro is controversial. I understand this. Thank you, timer. Appreciate you. You have to say thank you to your electronics, otherwise they just go bad on you. I know this from personal experience. So
I'm going to take this opportunity to thank the internet right now. Please don't go down on us. We appreciate you.
We really like you a lot. Thank you. Thank you, Beyonce's internet. We appreciate you. So these are almost done. So this is about to be done in a second. But what was I saying? I was getting to a point. Oh, whatever. It is what it is. You guys know me. I have no train of thought. It's been derailed since about 1996, so it's fine.
Cilantro. That's where you left off.
The what? Oh, cilantro. Okay, cilantro is very, very controversial. One of my closest friends and I have been debating cilantro for 21 years. 21 years. And we found out a few years ago, and of course, this is still a debate, and I love her. Love you, Jules. That this is something that she would, anytime we make something with cilantro, she'd say, it tastes like soap. I can't eat this. It tastes like soap. And I'm like, dude, you're just being dramatic. Like, I cannot handle it. You're just a drama queen, girl. And then lo and behold, of course, they do studies, and I find out that, oh yes, to some people, when cilantro hits their tongue, it tastes like soap. So I'm here publicly on Beyonce's internet say, I'm sorry, Jules, you were right, I was wrong. And I will use parsley whenever I make your food. Try the cilantro. Anyway, so as you can see, this is back up to a bubble because we did what we were supposed to do, Toil and Trouble, yeah. Oh, also that movie's coming out again, I think, but I've never seen the first one, so we won't go into it. So I'm gonna shut this off. It looks like a boiling hellfire right now. Don't be afraid. Tasting spoon. The most important thing in your kitchen is your tasting spoon. I don't care what anybody says it is. We go for a taste. I'm walking away. I walked away. I walked away from the show. It's that good. All right, we're just gonna plate this up and make it look pretty. I mean, whew, girl, you did. Yeah, pat yourself on the back, girl.
I think every month I want to be in Chantelle's kitchen for this moment, but this time even more so. You're really selling this meal.
It's so perfect. It really, really is. It's so simple. And I mean, you saw that. Like, I have a broken foot and I made this. Come on, dude.
Yes.
So I'm gonna put a few meatballs in here. This is, well, it's more than a regular serving, but that's okay. It's CreakyKitchen. And then you gotta make the plate look pretty, or else the Food Network gods won't smile on us. We gotta grab a ladle. Pay no attention to how many things are in that drawer. And ladle some of this luscious sauce over. Oh, I just said luscious. Girl, what is wrong with you? And we're gonna take it over here. We're gonna move you guys down a tad. We're also gonna introduce you to something else that's in the kitchen. You see this guy? Not them. See this guy? We're gonna be on this soon. This is a grill. It's a personal grill. It's my grill. It's charcoal and it's cast iron. And I'm not gonna carry it downstairs. That's what he's here for. So we're gonna put something on that grill. You guys tell me what should go on that grill. Let us know, hashtag CreakyKitchen. It's a 12-inch cast iron grill and it's gonna have charcoal and it's gonna be awesome. So here's our deliciousness. We're gonna throw on some lovely little scallions, a couple of squeezes of lime juice that cuts through that full fat coconut. Not like Joe coconuts. Joe coconuts. A little bit more. And then the ever controversial cilantro. And there you have it. Can you guys see? Is it looking good? Yeah, it's good. So that's this month's CreakyKitchen. Hopefully someone will want to eat this tonight. He wants it, so I gotta feed him. So thank you guys so much for spending another Thursday evening in my kitchen and in the CreakyKitchen with all of us from Creaky Joints. Follow me on all socials. I think Zoe put me in there, and Chantelle617 at Twitter and on Instagram. Happy to answer any questions and happy to share recipes and would love to try more. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Bon appetit. You know, I'm only a few states away from you and it feels like I'm just right in your kitchen. Those meatballs look so, so delicious. Thank you as always, Chantelle. And thank you everyone who joined us tonight. Special thank you to Carol for sharing delicious swap ideas. And I'm so excited to try baked Carol, and to Joe for talking about talking head pain and creating awareness this month for migraine and headache. Thank you all, and we'll see you next time in the CreakyKitchen.